and welcome to Unwarranted Music Opinions, the show in which three music nerds all choose an album and listen to them over the course of the week, then reconvene at the end of that week to discuss how we felt, whether we have adoring love for the record or we want to pummel each other into the dirt for choosing it. I'm June Lindberg here with Brian Courtney.
Hey, what's up? I don't have anything to say.
And Chaz Jenkins.
Hey, everybody.
And today, we've decided to do a new sort of theme, and we've all chosen albums that were released this year, 2020, and the thing that's going to be fun about this episode is it's actually going to be released, I think, in 2020. So when we mention albums that came out this year, it's actually going to be relevant, because I think we have several episodes uploaded this year that we say this year, and it's like 2019 or 2018. Anyway, Beach Bunny is an indie rock band from Chicago, fronted by Lily Trafilio. They've had several EPs dating back to 2015, but their single debut album came out, I think, back in March or February, actually. And I've listened to it several times since then. It's pretty short, it's easy to listen to, catchy, and during my work commute, it would be basically the same length as the drive. So I've just heard this a lot going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I figured that Chaz especially probably would get a lot out of this, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is Diet Sig, but good. This is like the things that were good about Diet Sig, but better without the things that I hated with the passion about Diet Sig. Yeah, I think this is a really solid album. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. What do you all think about it?
I will come clean and say that this is, in fact, Diet Sig better, even though I love both bands. I think the songwriting here, much more tight than Diet Sig's, and the vocals, I think, are better. The thing I love about this album the most is how goddamn catchy it is. Favorite song, by far, Colorblind. Favorite song. Love that fucking chorus. Second favorite, probably Rear View. But looking at the track listing, like
already I can't stand Chaz's takes already. It's already too much. Even when he's like praising something, he's wrong.
Promises, Cuffing Season, April, Rear View, Miss California. I mean, just a solid lineup of tracks. And the back half, Colorblind, Racetrack, Dream Boy, Cloud 9, fantastic closer. Love Cloud 9 to death. I think the thing I love most about that song is the song itself lyrically is just about how much she is in love with this boy she's seeing. But I love that it's titled Cloud 9, which, if you don't know what the whole thing about Cloud 9 is, it's that it's this false sense of like this heavenly place that really doesn't exist. So like when you're falling from Cloud 9, you're coming back into reality. So I kind of just like how it subverts the typical I'm in love with this person, la da 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 kind of song. I really do enjoy that. The guitar, bass work, drumming, excellent. I think the guitar work is really kind of spicy throughout. It's doing a lot of these, I don't want to say math rock, but it's a little complicated, just the way like the tapping and the way it's structured. It kind of plays like your typical math rock kind of tune, at least in a more modern sense. I think the drumming and the way it vibes with the music is really cool. It's short. It's like 20-something minutes. Just, you've been on a June with the short albums that have just been consistent, tight listens. Like I can get hundreds of listens in on this and enjoy it just as much.
What are you shaking your head for, Ryan?
Lost Wisdom was 20 minutes.
Yeah, but
Man, you like Lost Wisdom.
Yeah, but it had like 2 instruments, and that's it.
Wow.
I think the lyrics are good on this.
Continue.
I think they're really good. Nothing super special. I think there are some metaphors being used here that I haven't quite heard before. Like I said, Colorblind. Love the whole line of, I've seen this show before, change the channel, where, turn that show off, I've seen it, you can turn that show, change it if you want, I've seen it before. But in this case, it's talking about, I've been through this before. I think that's a really cool metaphor. Haven't really heard that. And this is a really like young group, right? Like they're not...
They sound young. And I don't know how old Lily Trafilio is, but this to me just sort of encapsulates that very
angsty,
early 20s, late teens kind of vibe that like Diet Sig was going for. I imagine these people are. I imagine this is a college band. That's kind of the vibe that I get from them.
They just sound more mature. Like nothing sounds.
I think it's more mature.
Yeah, nothing sounds
musically. And
nothing sounds loose here. Like it doesn't. Like it sounds like this group has been playing for years and just know how they're
very tight.
Yeah, super tight playing. And I love the vocals. Gorgeous vocals. The vocals and catchy melodies have been like the theme for me this week. All 3 albums we're about to talk about in this episode have like been super catchy and memorable in the vocal department, in my opinion. And I think this one is right up there with them. Like every song on here has some catchy melody, whether it's in the vocals or the guitar line or how the bass and drums are working together. Brian, I get the sense that you don't agree with everything I've said. What do you think?
I do, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's super tight. There's not a lot to complain about. You know, it suffers from the same thing that all albums suffer from. Some songs are more memorable than others. Some are just, don't quite measure up to the best songs. Like April and Promises are probably my 2 favorite songs. And, there's not a lot in the track list that kind of gets to that high again. The playing is super tight. And the lead vocalist, she does have a super memorable voice. Catchy melodies. Yeah, like it is basically, and this is not to boil down Beach Bunny. This is better Diet Sig. Diet Sig is writing about the same themes and concepts, but this is much tighter, much more mature, much more relatable, and less fucking annoying. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. I did want to dunk on Diet Sig again, but other than that,
your time will come. The time will come when you can dunk on Diet Sig again.
I guess as far as complaints, like there's nothing special about the record. There's nothing that's like super stand out. It's pretty like boilerplate, despite the group's chemistry and despite the songwriting being pretty good. So, I have a lot of praise for it, but I don't have a lot of love for it, if that makes sense. It's cool. It's tight. I like it. It's just one of those things where like this indie rock band just kind of needs to find something that gives them their own identity. And to be fair, it does seem like they have a lot of potential. I think what makes them stand out right now is maybe their vocalist and the charisma she has, but I think you have to do more than that. And even though I really like it, it's not super standout or anything. And it's like a snail mail situation where there's only really a handful of songs I can recognize despite enjoying, a majority of the record.
I don't know. I disagree. I think while maybe lyrically a lot of the topics have been done to death by a ton of other Midwest, emo, indie, pop punk groups before them, I think what makes them stand out is how tight the playing is. You really don't hear this really tight-knit group of playing from groups like this. A lot of the times it's really loose. It's really loose in the production. It's very more raw. Here it's really clean, punchy, fun, and upbeat. And I think the way that she delivers these topics is kind of, I don't want to say original, but more unique than your typical, depressed teen in their early 20s talking about a breakup they had. It's doing a lot more than just that. I think there's a lot of layers that you can peel here that make it stand out. And I think every track on this album is memorable in some way.
I would agree with that. And I do think that there's actually a lot of layers to the songwriting here.
Yes, absolutely.
The melodies and the choruses.
Oh, the choruses
on this album are fantastic.
Oh,
like
Miss California, Promises, Miss California.
The first song on the album is just so catchy. Like
it's super sticky.
Promises.
And every time that guitar pops in, that wonderful crunchy.
Yes.
Like it's cleanly produced. This whole record is, like you said, not super super raw, not super super loose, and actually, that I tend to really enjoy raw and loose styles of playing and production.
I think it's used well here, though.
I really love raw and loose. So I saw that face you made.
Yeah, Chaz, why'd you make that face, you creep?
Anyway, I think that the tightness and the... God damn it.
I mean, you're doing this. You're picking these words.
How tight and clean this album is.
Hell yeah.
Really does help it because it's just a no-frills sort of experience where they're just getting to the next fantastic hook here. And I think the Filio is a great deal more likable than a lot of other artists.
God, her vocals are so awesome. Like, I can't describe it, but it just has so much oomph to it.
She's young, and she's probably not that much younger than I am. So I shouldn't be like, oh, she's just like it. But the perspective that she encapsulates on this record is very much like a late teens, early 20s angst sort of perspective.
And I can praise it because it never comes off as whiny. It never comes off as whiny. And that's a trap that groups like this fall into, where it really just feels like we're being preached and whined to. Here, she's just like, I don't know how she's doing it, but the way she's delivering these topics.
I think that she is introspective enough and she doubts herself enough, but not too much. She's confident in what she's saying, but she isn't afraid to say, well, hold on, I don't know everything. Let's take a step back. I think that she's mature and enough to doubt herself, to know that she doesn't know everything about all of these situations that she's singing about. But that doesn't mean that it's overly angsty or whiny. I just think that there's a healthy dose of introspection here, which makes it more likable, even if the lyrics aren't particularly new or groundbreaking. And they kind of cover the same relationship issues and problems that you get in a lot of bands like
That's why I love Cloud9 so much, because it completely subverts the stereotype. You know, just love how a simple title of a, like we've discussed before on other albums, like one of my personal favorite moments is when you were making fun of the title tracks in Explosions into the Sky, June, and how you were like, you know, these titles are so stereotypical, whatever. I think the way a band packages their album is really important, and sometimes we've seen it done better than others. Just a simple title of a song can completely change what the song means, and here it's done beautifully. Because on the surface, like I mentioned, I want to go in more detail. The lyrics here are very like, I've met this guy, he treats me great, I love him, I think the way he talks about me, the way he respects me, makes me feel great. And it's super catchy. Love that fucking chorus. That's another really memorable chorus, in my opinion. But then you look at the title track, Cloud9, completely dismisses everything being sung about, as if though it's all just a fantasy. Like, just a simple titled name can completely change the meaning of a song. I think that shows much more maturity and thought process in the packaging and the songwriting and how it is represented. Way more than any typical like emo Midwest punk band might do. I think there's a lot more going on here than one would give it credit for. So that's why I can really respect this group for doing something like that, because you don't see that a lot.
And I should also mention that I can see this album kind of pulling a hop along. And by that, I mean introducing more artful and more complex instrumentation into the mix with future releases. This is only their first album, and I think they already play around a little bit with song structure here. Even though this is a lot of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus type of thing, I think
have some the way the guitar is played is not what you see in this typical genre. It's very mathy and complex.
I would just like to see them go into their own lane, even if they're picking up some of the hop-along tendencies along the way. Not to compare them to hop-along, because I think they are different. But
no, I just mean that I think they could get more ambitious.
Right. I just want them,
and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I agree with, too, is I hope to see them go on. That's what I mean when I hope they kind of get more of an identity for themselves, because that's what's so rewarding about going through the hop-along discographies. You can hear them more and more start to develop their own sound, and you can hear the songwriting mature and change. So I think that would be nice to see, or just not that exact process mimicked, but recreated in its own way. Anyway, you know, I like this record. I think it's a lot more potential than, you know, realized potential, but, you know, that's not to say it's not really good. So I would say I feel like a light 7.
This week has been super positive for me. Like, I have come out of this week just with a big smile on my face. Strong 8 to a light 9. This album kicks so much ass. It's right up my alley. Like, June, you nailed it on the head. But I think what this album brings to the table is a lot more than what you'd see in this typical genre. So I can respect it on that front. It's super goddamn catchy. The vocals are crispy. And I think that just overall, I can't wait to see what else this band brings to the table. Like, I'm glad you introduced me to them, because I probably never really would have noticed them if it weren't for the show.
Guess they're using RIM, man. I'm telling you. You'd be all over this shit if you used RIM. I see you updating these ratings. I'm proud of you, man. You got to keep it going.
So this album to me is not my favorite record of 2020, but it's definitely up there. It might be the one I've listened to the most. It's either this or the new Fiona Apple. I'm at like a light to decent 8 on this one. I do love this record. I normally am never quite get to that level of enjoyment with albums like this. I usually find them somewhat lacking with something. There's usually some level of emotion or personality or songwriting that I just wish was there. But Beach Bunny, I think, does have that. And even though it's not realized to its full potential here, it's still really, really solid and a super, super fun album to listen to.
I picked the new Lianne La Havas album, self-titled, released in July of this year. It's a neo-soul record at its core. There's lush instrumentation, smooth production, and just nice soothing vocals. Lots of songs about love on this one too, similar to the Beach Bunny, but pretty much all of them about love as far as I can tell. So similar to the Beach Bunny record in that regard. 50 so minutes, I think, around 51 minutes. A cut at the end that is a bit of a bonus track. Not really sure if it's intended to end the album as Sour Flower. Definitely seems like, the extended jam session and the little studio snippet at the end here kind of tell me this is the final track. Not a lot to unpack here for me personally. Like, I just happen to think it's, I hadn't heard it before we heard the show. I hadn't heard the song before I picked it for the show, is what I should say. So I was curious about it. And listening to it for the first time for the show, I was happy with it because it has been getting a lot of praise, but now I can see why. And that's kind of the trick with picking new music and picking music from, current year, whatever year you're in, is because there's going to be, inevitably you're coming in when the hype train is at its fastest or has the most momentum. So I was a little worried it would be overhyped or overliked or I wouldn't get it. But really, honestly, after I was done listening to it a few times, I think it's a really, really good record. I think it's great. I think it's lovely, actually. And it makes me happy that she has a back catalog to comb through because this is not my favorite record ever or anything like that, but it is really, really, really good. From, like I said, the lush instrumentation, which is really well produced. It's smooth. It's basically flawlessly produced. There's not a lot. Any issues I have with instrumentals here is that some are a little too stripped back sometimes or a little too minimal for my taste. But, the majority of this album is great vocal performances, really endearing songwriting, and just easy on the ears, but not easy listening. There's a lot you can hear going on. There was great care given to the production of and the playing of the instrumentals here. So everything sounds nice, smooth, lovely. I don't know. I just think this pick worked out. I don't have hardly any complaints about it. It's one of those records where once you start keeping up with new music, it's one of the ones that makes you remember why you're doing it in the first place.
That's a really good way to introduce this because you're right. This album is
I'm always
fantastic.
right.
This album is lovely. This album is supremely well produced. The vocal performance is great. The songwriting is so multi-layered. The arrangements are fantastic. When it gets more stripped back, I still do really, really love the melodies, the finger-picked guitar, her vocals. Every single track here, even the minute-long interlude, is super, super memorable and beautiful. This easily, I think, is one of my favorite albums of the year. And I don't know if I would have heard it if it wasn't for the show. So I'm really, really glad you picked it. One thing that really, really made me appreciate this album, and I listened to it 5 times before we recorded today, but the last time I listened to it when I was taking my notes, I read through all the lyrics and everything on Genius, and there's quite a bit of her words about what these songs mean, the inspirations for them, not just lyrically, but musically. And when I read about the inspirations musically for this record, it makes complete sense why I love it so much. Because while this is a neo-soul record, there's quite a bit of varied instrumentation here and quite a bit of varied influence. My favorite track is this very gorgeous, low-key song, Green Papaya, with this wonderful finger-picked chord progression. And I read on Genius, it was inspired by Joni Mitchell's Hejira, which is the best Joni Mitchell album. So it's my favorite Joni Mitchell album. No wonder, of course, the song that's inspired by my favorite Joni Mitchell record is going to be my favorite on the album. Also, you have a fantastic Radiohead cover, which not only is just very well performed, but it's such a great choice of song to cover because it's not one of their like most well-known songs, but as far as their
Thank you.
go,
not to derail the conversation into like Radiohead talk, but no one talks about this. It's like one of the best songs on In Rainbows.
We're talking about Weird Fishes from In Rainbows, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Which is probably one of their best deep cuts. In my opinion, from their best
absolutely.
record.
No one talks about it. No one gives that song credit. It's disgusting, frankly.
I would hope that somehow retroactive.
I know. I want this to like revital, like
makes more people love the original because it's the shift to neo soul for the sound of this song from Radiohead's original like art rock. It just works perfectly in the drum production and everything, especially the phenomenal vocal performance at the end of the song. Also, another really awesome influence here on the song 7 Times. You can hear this distinct sort of Brazilian flair to the way the drums are, the drum patterns and the guitar. And I read on Genius, she was listening to a bunch of Milton Nascimento and Brazilian MPB stuff, which is like Música Popular Brasilia, something like that. I don't really know for sure how to pronounce it, but just Brazilian music from the 60s and 70s, bossa nova, samba, and stuff like that, or samba. That's very, very, very American. Samba, some bossa nova and samba music in the songs 7 Times, and I think again in Courage, even though it's a little more subdued, the inspiration there, which is a phenomenal musical scene. The only time we've ever talked about a Brazilian artist on this show was with Gal
Costa.
Which isn't, it's more Tropicalia, but it still kind of has that flair, and you can definitely hear that. If you listen to the drums and the guitar in 7 Times, you can definitely tell that she was listening to a lot of that stuff, which is, I think, a fantastic influence, and it really gives that song and the rest of the record a wonderful little flair to it. This album doesn't sound experimental, but it does sound unique and very well thought out.
This album took a while for me, 4 listens, and around the second listen, I was like, okay, I'm kind of digging this. My biggest issue with soul, R&B, neo soul, that whole, genre of music, and my biggest issue with this album, it's too long. That's the biggest issue for me, is that all these songs go on way too long.
Now, to be fair to you, I do think that that's one of my criticisms of this record, is that some of the songs go on a bit too long. There's just a few songs,
couple minutes
where I think
shaved off.
Where I think like, oh, it's song ending, and then it goes on for, I think it's like 3.5 minutes long, and I think the song's about to end, but then it goes on for a little bit of an extended jam to get out to 5 minutes, which never really bothers me. The melodies and the musical ideas are really, really good, but I do think that there's just a slight issue in the songwriting, song structures just being a little bit samey as we get through the rest of the record, because it's not a particularly short record without the...
It's 52 minutes. And
without the bonus track at the end. I stopped listening to the bonus track at the end because it's just a short version of the intro song. It's just a cut down version of
I've listened to it.
Out the record.
I've listened to it for every listen. Full 52 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Well, without it, it's about 48, which is still, it's like a moderately sized record.
Right.
And I do think it justifies the length with different musical ideas.
I can't blame.
And I should also, after you're done, I'll talk a bit about the lyrics once you're done speaking.
I can't blame her for wanting to do a full 52, almost hour record, because it seems to me like a lot is being said here. Like she has a lot that she wants to get off her chest for whatever reason. Because this is like her 4th studio album, right? So she's been making music for a while.
3rd.
Her debut came out in 2003, but I've never heard of this.
2003 or 13?
I looked on Rate Your Music, and I think
2012.
2012. My mistake. But that's a long...
I was going to say, I don't think she's that...
Yeah.
She was born,
Wait, I know why I said 2003. I was looking up Destiny's Child. They've been making music since 2003. My mistake. A common mistake. Never mind. Anyway, it seems to me that this album is like a huge passion project that's been a while in the making, and is finally seeing the light of day. That's just the vibe I get. So I can respect it being as long as it is because there's a lot being done here. However, I think if you just shaved a few minutes off each track, would have been perfect. But that's my biggest issue. Everything else, fucking flawless. The vocals, god damn, so fucking good. Like, eargasm. Like, it's just so clean and gorgeous and luscious and just vibes so well with the music here. Love the songwriting here. The instrumentation is gorgeous. Again, kind of mathy. The way the guitar is being played is like way... So with Beach Bunny, it's a little mathy. This, I've never seen a soul record have guitar playing that's like pure math rock. Like the playing here is super mathy.
Not really math rock.
It's really mathy.
It's just folky, I think. I think it's just got complex finger picks.
I don't know. The tone of the guitar and super mathy. Like at least modern.
I disagree too. I don't think there's anything math rock about it in the slightest.
I don't know. Okay.
I just think it's relatively complex.
I think what you need to do is listen to some folky records and get an idea of what the finger.
I mean, I've listened to some folky records
because that's definitely.
And we've listened to some for the show. I'm telling you, the math rock that I've heard sounds just like this. But anyway, point is, it's not your typical stuff you'd hear associated with soul or R&B. That's the point I'm trying to make. The bass, groovy as fuck, vibes so well with the drums. The percussion here is amazing. And over top, again, you've got these amazing vocals. I love the lyrics on this album. They're confident, they're sexy, they're playful, they're flirty. They're so fun. Green papayas, weird fishes, fucking Read My Mind, love Read My Mind. Please Don't Make Me Cry, Courage, Sour Flower, fuck, Bittersweet, goddamn. Like, it is just, lyrically, it is a lot to take in, and it's all good. Not a single weak track. But again, the strongest thing about this week has been catchiness. The earworms that all three albums have brought, for me personally, have been like, one day, Oliver Tree has been stuck in my head all goddamn day. The next day, Beach Bunny. Then the day after that, fucking this album. All in my ear, all day. I love the production. I don't think it's simple or anything. I think it's really full. You get to hear all these beautiful instruments and the way that they sound. Right, full with on top.
It's very rich.
Yes, and I think that works to its advantage. Again, my biggest issue is just the length. I just think it goes on a little too long, but I can understand why, because what's being sung about here is there's a lot to unpack. You know, on the surface, it just may seem very like your typical R&B, like let's make love, that kind of stuff. But there's a little bit more here than just that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the lyrics because when I was reading through it for my last listen, I kind of realized that this is, I don't want to say a concept album, but it kind of tells the story of a relationship and a breakup. In a trajectory not really unlike, to bring up my favorite record, not quite unlike Jane Seabury's Walking, where the opener and the first couple songs are very much in love with an individual in kind of a different way. The second track, Read My Mind, is just very, very in love and just wanting to shout it.
The first line is, let's make a baby tonight. I mean, you can't get more blunt than that. That is like...
Right. Green Papaya, which is my favorite song.
That song is so fucking good. Oh, that song is so...
Finger-picked. The lyrics on this one is sort of about recognizing the relationship and sort of wanting to cement it, saying, okay, I see this thing that's happening. Let's actually make it work. You know, let's not have us be a flash in the pan type of thing. Once we get to sort of the middle of the album, you can see that the relationship starts to have some issues. Mm-hmm. Please Don't Make Me Cry.
A really sad. That's a good song too.
Which is from, and I mean, Radiohead's and Rainbows kind of deals with some of the same topics. So choosing Weird Fishes was very, very, it wasn't just plucking a song and saying, okay, let's cover Radiohead. It really feels like it was done purposefully and it fits in with the themes of the record.
Yeah, the song is very melancholy. Despite its kind of strange and abstract lyrics, it definitely fits well in the narrative of the album for sure, as maybe a tone setter than a lyrical homage to what's going on.
And I think that the relationship that is the centerpiece of this record is basically over by the time we get to 7 Times, which is her basically hoping that this former significant other does well in life and saying, I appreciate what we had. I hope things go well for you. And it's a little bit defiant. It's a little bit saying, I had to do what's good for me. I hope things go well. It's her doing what's best for herself. And then you have much more subdued Courage, which is kind of her hoping she'll have the courage to continue on after the end of the relationship. It's a lot less defiant than Seven Times was. It's a lot less celebratory. But then you have the end, the track Soulflower, which is sort of coming to a...
Sour Flower. Fake
coming
fan.
to a...
Fake fan. Doesn't even like it.
Going to a confident sort of acceptance of yourself. And again, I think their emotional trajectory, just starting on this high and then going down and then coming back on your own again, but maybe a better person for the experience.
Quick note, I do think the track Bittersweet at the end is the full closer, though. And you know why I think that? Because when you described how this album flows, it makes so much sense why Bittersweet begins and ends the album. Because in the beginning, there's this sense of like, ooh, I'm getting in this relationship. Do you think it'll work out? That kind of thing. And as we said, it starts really going down. And then by the interlude, we're starting to decrease. And then with the end, with Courage and Sour Flower, will I be able to keep going after this? Bittersweet as a closer gives the sense that she's looking back on it. And you have that.
I think it recontextualizes it.
Yes,
Yeah,
it completely it does. Because now she's thinking back on it going, like, man, wish that worked out. Sucks that it didn't, that bittersweet feeling of life. But I'm a new person because of it. I've been able to get over it. And, just naming the song Bittersweet makes so much sense because that's the feeling. You do get that kind of feeling with soul and R&B in general. There's always a bitter, kind of like country, there's always that bittersweet kind of vibe going on here. And it's all over this album.
Very lively music. It's something about the sound of soul music to me is just always encapsulated, sort of the way Mark Kozelek does it in a different way, just like life, just it's like the sound of living.
That's why
it doesn't make every soul record good, but there's something about that sound when it's done really well that kind of can capture the human experience and instrumentation.
And that's why I think Bittersweet is the actual closer. And it shows a tight album listening experience because you got Bittersweet to begin, you got an interlude, and then Bittersweet to end. Perfect flow.
It's definitely very, very well albumized, and you can definitely tell that she had sort of an ambitious vision of what she wanted to create.
But I totally get the concept, Joan. I'm glad you brought that up because I totally get that too. But I do think Bittersweet is the true album closer because that brings it back around full circle. And I mean, I can speak from experience. I've had some relationship that seemed like they were going to start good, didn't end up, and you just kind of look back on those and just say, man, I wish it did work out, or sucks that it didn't. But
that's like the millennial age, 20s to early 30s, like love breakup records. That's why there's a lot of potential there because it's a huge learning experience as a human being. It's so ubiquitous with everyone that it's, when you really go out and make it your own or make it mature or fully realize it, it's why records like this or like The Walking are so great. It's because they're fully realized, genuine, emotional albums that are also super memorable. They realize that they're music on top of it. It's why records like this do so well throughout all of time.
I gotta praise.
They'll last forever because it's a ubiquitous experience, and there was care given to the songs, regardless of the time period they're in, to be memorable and sound good as music.
And I think it's interesting to note,
that's the staying factor.
And I think it's interesting to note about that, talking with Beach Bunny and album packaging. I mean, why do you think this is a self-titled album? I mean, this is their third album, yet now she's self-titling it. I think it's about
all
her.
About her, right?
Well, yeah, it's her experience. Yeah. That is why it's all about what she has gone through. And we're getting that laid out beautifully in this kind of story arc. It's perfectly packaged. Gotta praise Weird Fishes some more, though. A song I did not know was
it's funny because... Oh, dude, that's a great... I like the original one. I think the cover here is
I didn't know that was a cover.
It's not my favorite song here,
so I just thought this was a good fucking song of the album. But now that I know it's a Radiohead cover, I mean, that is... To anybody out there...
It takes guts to cover Radiohead.
It takes guts
she does it uniquely.
Well, that's the thing. It takes guts to cover any artist.
Do it so goddamn well.
The trick to covers is don't just do the same goddamn thing. Make it your own. And she has completely taken this song. Because I looked into it, and she's been covering the song for years. Like, this is like one of her favorite songs to play in live settings. It's her favorite song to cover. So, of course, in the album that's all about her, she's going to place this on the album. A full done cover. And it works sense thematically. It works sense musically. It works sense in the track listing. But god damn, is it not one of the best covers I've heard in a long time? It completely...
I'm fully in agreement.
Like, she completely takes it into this new life. Like, Radiohead...
I love the big vocal performance at the end.
That's the only song...
Probably my favorite part of the cover.
It's the only song I wouldn't shave any length off. The Weird Fishes ending there, the way she goes, Weird Fishes... Nah, don't change it. That is a perfect song on the album.
I think my favorite tracks are honestly the opener and the closer. Is Bittersweet and Sour Fire. They have the biggest vocal performances on this thing, and I love the way they just build. They just start off very quiet, setting the tone lyrically, and then this lush instrumentation comes in just as she is put. The performance becomes emotional. The instrumental is there to back it. There's a lot of care given to this record.
The 1, 2, 3
I love
plunge.
the slower tracks too. Love Can't Fight, which is like a little more.
That lilting guitar on the
reserved.
chorus is
That I love Seven Times is another. I love the like little bass line that do 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 as the chorus, like the refrain is there. It's just so memorable. It's lovely. It's great. It's probably my favorite record I've heard this year. I've not heard a great deal, but I guess we'll be fixing that going forward because I've got to do my research now, given what the show is going to be like going forward. But yeah, honestly, I think this was a great new segment. I think this is awesome. I think this has opened up a lot of discussion for the show.
I thought you guys would like it.
Not just our normal avenue of discussion, but now we have this kind of discussion about contemporary music, which is the most important, I think, at all times. I am feeling a decent 8. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. My only complaint is it hasn't had more time to grow on me. So
Light to decent 8. It was going to be a strong light 8 at first, but the more we talked about it in June, you totally opened
strong
up.
light 8.
Yeah.
Slim thick.
This
one
I really had to stew a little bit on. I don't know what it is about Soul in general, but it takes a while for me to really get into it. But I mean, the songwriting, the album structuring, the lyrics, the confident singing and vibe. I mean, it's goddamn good. It's so hard not to say it isn't. It's impossible because what's being done here is just so well done. She's mastered her craft on this album. And I've never heard of her before. So like, me saying that, I mean, it's just like, I don't even need to listen to other stuff. I mean, she has finally found her footing, and I don't have anything to reference to. I just know for a fact that she's... she can only go up from here.
So this album has whistling on Courage, and it's got a flute surprise at the end of 7 Times.
Yes.
For those 2 reasons, I am giving it a decent to strong 8.
Nice.
This is one of my favorite records of the year. It might actually be like in the top 3, I would say. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head that I know it doesn't beat is the new Fiona Apple, but that's the only one. So it's very possible this is like my second favorite record of the year at this point. I'm really, really glad it was chosen because I don't know when I would have gotten around to it, but I'm glad that I've sat down with it and listened to it several times.
I'm glad you guys are liking this new segment. We'll definitely be doing it multiple times.
Yeah, it's really paid off until the next segment.
And as much as I love this record, I hate the next one.
The album I've picked is Ugly is Beautiful by Oliver Tree. Big meme. The biggest meme out there right now. Oliver Tree is a rapper, producer, comedian, songwriter from Santa Cruz, California. Before this big album, he was known for a lot of his underground music under the title Tree. He's been performing music for quite some time now. One of the very first musical experiences he had was in high school in a ska band. It's like this was meant to be, called Irony, which I don't think they have anything out. But he was huge for a Vine, I believe. He has this character that he portrays called Turbo, which is what the whole getup of the bowl cut, the bell-bottom jeans, and everything is. I think it's hilarious. This is his debut album. The quick note I want to make about this is that a lot of the music here is mostly about his experiences with his record label. He is very upset at how Atlantic Records, which is the label he's with right now, Before that, he was with R&S, but currently he's with Atlantic Records. He has gone on to say that this will be his final studio album under the Oliver Tree name. He wants to go on to do more filmmaking. Don't know if that's true. Don't know if that's part of the meme or persona. However, his experiences with Atlantic Records are not a meme. Like, this is a prime example where the studio came in and just fucked everything up. When the coronavirus happened, they forced him to delay his album. They forced him to release singles against his wishes. So the handling of how this was advertised pretty much was just full studio control. He had really nothing to do with it. All the music videos coming out, he did have something to do with. He directed most of his music videos. But in terms of actual promotion, he didn't really have a say. And he has been very outspoken with how that's been done. And unfortunately, that could make one think that, is this not going to be good? Or is this going to... Like, half the album was released already before it actually dropped. And that's a bad sign because one of my favorite bands that does that all the fucking time is Weezer, and it never goes over well. They release like half the goddamn album before it comes out. Thankfully, that is not the case for Oliver Tree's debut, Ugly is Beautiful. Fucking love this record. This is a bona fide Chazcore pick. Through and through.
We're not all in the same room, but there's a very uneasy energy right now.
Yeah. This has a lot of rap, pop punk, emo, indie, very raw vocals from Oliver, but with some really cool production and songwriting and beat work happening here that I really enjoy. It's only like 30-something minutes, so it's really consistent, tight. Thankfully, I was not paying attention to him until recently, so I didn't hear any of the singles come out until I listened to this album. So none of the album was like, quote unquote, spoiled for me. So very much enjoyed a lot of the songs here. For me, what this album has going for it is how goddamn catchy it is. It is the catchiest album of the three we've talked about today. From Me, Myself, and I to Alien Boy. Love it. But I think the back half has got some major gems in it. Love Waste My Time, Jerk Hurt, Introspective's all right, and then I'm Gone. A fucking awesome closer. Love I'm Gone. Love the instrumentation. Love the production. I love Oliver Tree's vocals. The biggest critique he gets is that they're kind of annoying, and I can see that from time to time. However, the song is so catchy, so fun. For those who don't know, June does not like this.
That's my input. That's my input on Oliver Tree. I'll interrupt you in your spiel.
I'll go into more detail later. Take it away, guys. Why do you not like this album? Or June. I don't know if Brian likes it. I'm sure he's like, yeah, it's all right.
Let's talk about Oliver Tree. Let's talk about his vocal delivery. This man does not know how to pronounce words. I know it's the stupidest fucking criticism you could ever give to vocals. But why are all of his T's pronounced like D's, and why does he insert W's into everything? It's irritating. It's goddamn irritating. Makes me angry. I'll hunt you down like a Tyrannosaurus. Sounds like his vocals. He would sound better if he just shoved a fucking watermelon into his gullet. It's where he couldn't speak. I hate his vocals so much. And the thing is, it doesn't necessarily quite start off that way, because we start with Me, Myself, and I and Cash Machine. And I think vocally I don't like him here, but he's not as bad as he could be. Farther on onto this album, I swear to God, Bury Me Alive, the chorus and introduction verse on that song, I'm watch out.
Love it.
Shut down. It always falls apart.
Yeah, I love it.
No.
Yeah.
That is the worst song here. Such a bad vocal delivery. That's just, I hate this so much. And then the Beastie Boys sort of pastiche that happens afterwards, where it's like, okay, I guess he's doing a boom bap thing now. Super, super irritating. Lyrically, worth nothing. The instrumentation throughout this album, the only good thing about it is the guitars are nice and crunchy. I think that the guitars on Cash Machine and I'm Gone are pretty cool. The drums throughout this entire thing are useless. It's the same drum pattern every single time. It's super, super boring. It's the same West Coast indie pop production where it just sounds like they used a drum machine and they just put it on the same fucking beat every single song. I hate the electropop influences on this thing. And I'm not against electropop, but it's the same goddamn synth work on every single time it pops up here. And it's always mixed with just this early 2000s alt-rock pop-punk sort of vibe, which I'm not that into to begin with, but I don't think it does any favors to the style here on this record, because I don't think any of this instrumentation is unique or fun in just about any way. I think that Alien Boy has this stupid disco influence, which just sounds like it's... like this album doesn't have its own sound. It just sounds like it's taking all of the relatively popular indie styles of the past
and mixing them. That's its sound.
And
like the idea.
Them,
wow.
But it doesn't do it well or interestingly.
All right. I was gonna come in and let you talk, but then you said some fuck shit. Okay.
And his vocals, the beginning of Jerk, you say you don't want me. You call me a jerk, like, and then the fucking I hate Again and Again with the head, like it's so ear-piercingly loud. His vocals are right in the front of the mix, and they have a stupid like Red Hot Chili Peppers type of effect on them, where it sounds like it's like they're peaking the whole time. And the thing is, like, I'm okay with vocals like that sometimes. Look at Andrew WK, where everything is in the red the whole time. But when his vocals are like this, I know it's just a joke, but I'm still not laughing. That's what he says on the album. It's a reference to a lyric, and it's like anytime there's hip hop on it, it's just him talking about how tough he is.
No, it's not. Did you even read the lyrics? He's never like, oh, I'm this bad. No, he mostly talks about like, I've been not taken seriously my whole life, and I'm about to put an end to that. Like, that's what most of the album is about. The album is very introspective.
Right, he's like, he's very, very aggressive about taking seriously, but it's just impossible to. I also think that his image, I know that we're reviewing the music and not the image, but for me, it comes off as very, very try-hardy, like, I need to do a Mimi persona because that's a thing that is getting kind of popular nowadays. So, okay, dude, in Los Angeles on Atlantic Records, like, I know that he's had music for a long time, but this whole bowl cut, glasses, raincoat, bell-bottom jeans persona thing, it just does nothing for me. And that's like, I guess the whole appeal of the album is Oliver himself. I find him repugnant, honestly.
I think, okay. So, I like Oliver Tree. I like the persona. I like his vocals. But the instrumentals completely kneecap this thing. I mean, it is extremely trite. And the songwriting is super one note, and that goes for the instrumentals too. There's a little bit of diversity, like there's enough to tell you that, tracks are different, right? But they all sound the same. They're all produced exactly the same. It's just super clean, just super uninteresting. And Oliver is the selling point here. But he is, and to be fair, it's kind of like hits throughout. Like, it's not like hit. It's like, I'm not super crazy about the beginning of the record, to be honest. I do honestly probably like the back half more. Hurt is easily my favorite song and his best single and his best song. I love the chorus on that one. I love just how the song goes along. It has a lot of energy. Same goes for I'm Gone, which is a great closer. And Alien Boy is another one I like a lot too. I enjoy that song quite a bit for the reasons that pretty much that you stated, Chaz. Just his big over-the-top performance. It all works on those tracks. But then it just like doesn't work on several of the other tracks, and they're just middling and boring. And honestly, by the end of the record, like, thank God the last few tracks are really good, because I'm totally done with this thing by the end. There is not a lot keeping me around. I like his vocal performances. I like how over the top it is. I do think a lot of it is memorable and catchy. But there's nothing else keeping me here. It's just Oliver, and that doesn't work. That just doesn't work because there's no good music underneath him.
Wow. Okay.
You know, I love the homage. Like he clearly has a lot of love for like it seems like the 90s like kind of vibe. Like
It
it's
feels
just
more
kinda,
early 2000s to me.
it's around that era, I guess.
Like,
Well, he
like
was
the
born.
guitar on Cash
He was
Machine
born in
also.
'93, so he
I think he has a lot of love for clearly a bygone era, which is fine. That's not like a critique on its own, but you know, I think there was a better way to get it across because it's just done to death. Like the tracks do sound different. June, you were talking about the hip hop influence one. I like the beginning of that track too, but there's just not a lot to these songs that make their entire length interesting. And that happens a couple of times for about half the record. I don't know. It's
fuck off,
not crazy.
both of you. First off, did we even listen to the same goddamn record? Because y'all are high off your ass if you think all these songs sound the goddamn same. No, they do not.
Whoa.
There is. Ooh, I was gonna come in and meme with you guys, but nah. All right, you pushed some buttons here. First off,
Chaz has got his buttons
these
pushed.
songs do not sound the same. There are some very interesting things going on in the instrumentation if you're paying attention, and clearly,
I paid attention.
No,
I
you
took a
didn't.
page of notes.
if you think all the drum beats are the exact same, then you were not listening to the drum beats because they're not the same every time. Like, there's some same instrumentation going on in some of the tracks, but there is a lot of variety here, and the production on them is stellar. Love the songwriting on this thing. Super goddamn catchy. Every song on this album is catchy in some way, and a lot of times it's Oliver's vocals, which are awesome. Shut the fuck up. The front half of this album is flawless for me. Like, it is just hit after hit after hit till Alien Boy. We take a bit of a dive with Jokes on You. Not my favorite. It's all right. Like, it's got some things in it. Again and Again is pretty good. Waste My Time is awesome. Jerk is cool. Hurt's cool. Like I said, the back half of this is a little weak in comparison to the front half for me. But it's saved with I'm Gone, you know. But being saved is like, not like I'm about to fall off a cliff. More just like I might trip over this rock and stumble a little bit. And someone helped me. You know what I mean? It's a big difference. I can understand finding this annoying because the vocals are a little like you either love them or you hate them kind of thing. I could totally see that. However, what brings this album to the forefront for me and a lot of other people is the instrumentation. It is awesome. What the hell are you talking about, Brian? That is a bad opinion. That is a wrong.
Look, it's okay to have an album that, you know, kind of has, I would dare say, gimmicky instrumentation.
You know what? It might be.
I Get Wet is mega gimmicky.
Yes.
It's all bam, bam, bam up front.
It's
And that
his
record's
own.
amazing.
It's his own. There is no other album that sounds like that. And you can't say there is because there isn't. Is there an album that sounds like this?
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm saying what he's doing on this record, despite it being a quality that we've liked before, the instrumentals are lackluster. Like, they totally lack any, like, there's no likability. It's like the same thing every time. So this is like radio.
It's not the same
This
thing
is like
every
literally,
time. The only time it repeats
this is like literally radio music that gets played to death. Like,
No
as far
way.
as the instrumentals
No
go,
way.
You could hear that. Like, this is, I can literally hear, like, this is 90.3 FM, and next up we got this fucking no-name band that's going to play a middling rock song for you, and then it plays and your stomach gets kind of turny. You have to look out the window for the remainder of the car ride.
False.
Like, that's what it sounds
There's
like.
no goddamn way. Because while the guitar is used from time to time, you've got songs like Alien Boy, 1993, Miracle Man to change things up. None of the songs that sound similar sound like that. The track listing here is so well done because it never gets one note for me because of the track listing. Because there are songs that do sound similar, but I think there are elements of them that changes it up. And for me, it's so catchy that I don't even care in retrospect. What changes it up is how he's placed these tracks here, because Me, Myself, and I kind of sets the tone from the beginning, and then he changes it up in 1993 with that boom, boom, ba, bum, bum, bum. You never hear that again through the entire album. Then you got Cash Machine, which kind of has that grungy guitars and like electro-pop bouncing drums. Really cool. And then you've got Let Me Down, which like has more acoustic guitar and stripped back instrumentation. And then Miracle Man completely changes it up with more of like a hip-hop kind of beat. I do not think any of the songs sound like there are elements that are similar. But no two songs sound the same.
I know we're going kind of hard on it. I do like qualities about those songs, but at the end of the day, like the instrumentals don't hold my attention. Like Oliver stands out on each track, and there is merit to your point that they're each different enough to stand out. But when I'm listening to it like all the way through, eventually it's all muddy and like I feel like I'm hearing the same thing again after we get the one distinct part at the beginning, but then I feel like it all just comes apart as the song goes along. Like they have a great start or a good identifiable unique start, and then as they go along it's all Oliver that you're relying on to make this song good,
and I think he holds through it,
you know?
I think his vocals and his melodies are super strong.
I think they are too for the most part, but I don't think you can't carry a record on that. You just can't unless there was no instrumentation and it's all his voice, and that's the only thing. But there's stuff underneath him and it's really loud. So you have, it's right there with him, and he's over. Like it's a very, very, very loud mix, which is fine. That's how it is nowadays. But if your songs don't go anywhere and don't have any progressions that are, they don't have to be complicated. They just have to catch your ear, remain that way, or you have to have this energy that matches. But I just don't think he can carry these songs. He's just not that strong.
Because I'm telling you, the whole goddamn week I've been listening to this album, the first front half of this fucking album has been stuck in my head, and I've been loving it. Like it's ear boa constrictors, not earworms, boa constrictors. Like I've been swarmed in this music, and it has been amazingly catchy. And that says a testament to Beach Bunny and La Havas, because they too super goddamn catchy. But I'm telling you, from the first track to the last track on Oliver Tree, I'm having a great goddamn time. Y'all are on some bullshit. Some mega bullshit. Like, Brian, I could see where you're coming through, but I think more listens completely any aspect of that out the window. June, you're a normie. You're a goddamn normie, June. You just want.
Oliver Tree is normie.
You just want some post-punk and an underground, unknown label in the 1980s. That's all you fucking want.
Don't call me out like this.
Yeah, sit the hell down.
That's not cool, Chaz. You're a fucking disastrous humor. You're just a mess, and that's
disaster
bad.
Humor.
That might be worse than being a normie.
Look, I get it, though. I get where you're coming from, June, because I think there is some aspects of this that not everyone will like. But to say it's all the same, to say that there's no thought here, I feel like it's totally unfair.
I love that Chaz is pulling us back to earth. He's like...
Yeah. I mean, we're getting heated, but just for anyone who happens to be listening, if anyone ever listens to this, like... We're all friends. This is mostly a joke, right? We get intense. We have strong opinions, but we're not like actually angry at each other.
Yeah, we don't mind that Chaz is wrong a lot. Wow. It's fine.
Hey, like, but when I come through, I reveal that Stretch It Out is about jerking off, and then you all love me.
You did. You were kind of the plug on that.
Yeah.
The world needs to know.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't care for this record. It's the worst time I've had with this show since Diet Sig. I am feeling some of the melodies are catchy. Some of them have actually stuck in my head. I will say it's fairly memorable in the hook department. So I was thinking I was going to give this like a 2. This is more of a light 3.
Well, yeah. You take your victories where you can, I guess. That's fine.
I guess it's a light 3.
All right.
I don't hate it that much. I don't even dislike it. I just think there's some problems that kneecap it, and it just totally I think it could be a really good record. I think it could be a great record, but I just think there wasn't enough thought given to the length of these tracks, and how those tracks should progress, and the songwriting could have used some changing up too. It's just a little one note, and that kind of kills it for me from being anything more than just like, yeah, I enjoy that record. Not that I don't think he should be taken serious. I don't think he shouldn't be taken seriously. I think that he can make serious songs, and he's a persona. It's a meme, and I mean, there's a meme factor to it, but it doesn't mean he can't be taken seriously. I don't particularly do, just because I'm not that into the music, so it's hard for me to even go into that aspect of it. But anyway, I like a light to decent 6. It's fine. It stands out, but it's not something I'm super interested in. Don't love it. Don't really get the hype except for a couple of songs. I wish it wasn't his last one. I think that sucks that he had a really bad experience with his record label, but that's par for the course with record labels.
And I will mention, like, I feel for him with the issues he's had with the label and wanting to express his own creativity and not have that hindered. You know, I'm not about to go and say that Oliver Tree is this terrible human being. I just think he makes really shitty music.
All right, Chaz, we can give this record. You like it. You seem like you like it.
Light 9. Fuck the haters. Oliver Tree is awesome in my book.
Better than what's it?
A lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. I mean, it's pretty high. It's pretty high praise.
Dude.
I mean, you know,
this album has just gotten better and better the more times I've listened to it. And I was listening to it a little bit before the show, and I liked it. But listening to it for the show, just so many things have come forward that I really, really love about it. It is totally a light 9 for sure. I think what holds it back for me personally is that just some songs don't quite bring to the table what the rest of the album does. But every goddamn song on here is catchy in some way, and the songs that, like the front half of this album is sticking with me. And I think the back half will only just get better with time. Like, this could easily become a 10 with more listens because it is just, it's a Chazcore album through and through. It's got some meme, it's got some sincerity, it's got some art to it, it's catchy, it's not long, and I don't think it takes itself too seriously.
Like this, Billie Eilish have gotten big ratings.
Yeah.
That's gotten like a fat fucking.
But I can understand the criticisms. I don't think the songwriting criticisms.
Iridescence.
Yeah, I don't think the songwriting criticisms are fully justified.
It's all making sense now.
But June, you did say some things like, I can totally see why someone wouldn't like that. I don't think this will be his last record because I think it's doing really well and it is getting a lot of praise. I think just this is his final record, and you can tell by the lyrics. What really sticks with me too is the lyrics, because this is kind of just a fuck you to Atlantic Records and to anybody who's doubted him up to this point, because he's swimming in the dough. Like, he has made it. So anybody who said he wasn't going to, I mean, look who's laughing now. Like, look who's the joke is on now. I do think this is the last Oliver Tree persona, the Turbo Persona record. And you can see that all over the lyrics. So I think we'll get more music from him, just not this character. So maybe, June, that'll get better with you because I know you're not too hot on the persona to begin with. But only time will tell. As it stands, it's a light 9, and you two don't know anything about music.
Been shattered, honestly. This has been Unwarranted Music Opinions. Next time, it's going to be a sequels episode where we are going to talk about albums by bands or artists that we have already discussed on this show. I'm going to be bringing back an artist that we talked about fairly recently, actually, for good reason. Don't know if I want to spoil it quite yet. We're going to talk about the final Dog-Faced Herman's album, Those Deep Buds, released in 1994.
Speaking of 1994, we're going to be bringing it back with, I think, collectively, one of our favorite punk bands we've talked about, way back in our underrated albums episode, Chumbawamba, the tried and true band that does not get enough love because of one goddamn song. We're going with their 1994 release, Anarchy.
We're going to take it back, way back, to cover a sequel album that I've been meaning to bring up forever, but I feel like now is the time because it's been a long time. I don't want to revisit something a little too early, but it's been many moons since we've spoken about beloved trio, Caro Caro Bonito, and we're going to cover their record from 2018, Time and Place.
This has been Unwarranted Music Opinions. I'm June Lindberg. I was here with Brian Courtney.
Oh, wait, no, we should do a thing where you say, well, never mind. Don't worry about it. Yeah, goodbye, everybody.
And Chaz Jenkins.
I'll forgive you all because I know down the line I got a few picks that are going to get more shit than this.
Thanks for listening. See y'all next time.